People online. Okay, great. I'm going to introduce you, Chinedu. Chinedu Kogu has described himself as a lover of all things, but whose focus is business strategy and technology at Probase, where he is powered by a great team of passionate people and partners. And he is going to be presenting on Sink or Swim, retooling your business for the digital age. So Chindu, thank you so much for joining us and taking the time to not only prepare this presentation, but go through it with us. And what we're going to do is, I'm going to keep an eye on all the questions as they come through. And then at the end, we will set up a question and answer session once Chinedu has finished his presentation. Okay, thanks so much, Chinedu. Off you go.
Okay, thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you, George. Good morning, all. This is just one of those quick tips we have. Please do not take me in any way as an expert. These are just things that will be generic, even to the business I belong to, which is Probase. As Elizabeth said, my name is Chinedu Kogu. I'm the CTO of Probase. And of course, my portfolio dabbles across a wide range, not just technology, but also business cases for the use of technology. And within the arena of COVID, I think it has taught us a whole lot and has basically thrust us into the point where if you are not digitally enabled, then your business most likely would have felt the impact in one way or the other. So Sink or Swim is basically my attempt at helping to provide a few tips here and there. Basically about, like Elizabeth said, how to reposition your business, ensure that you are able to take advantage of the digital strides that we currently have, and then use that to push your business in a whole new direction, at least to keep it running. Of course, I've introduced myself. The picture is not me. Please bear that in mind. I look nothing like the guy. But ultimately, the aim is we are all in this together. And one of the things that Bongo Hive continues to do and do quite well is to create a community where we can share our ideas, our passions and aspirations, and then help each other out, potentially when we reach out for such help. The first thing around my process is always this. One, always plan for the future and stay ahead of the curve. Obviously, you are not a soothsayer, you can't see into the future, but at the very least, you should be able to anticipate the potential goals or objectives or directions. And then more importantly, you should look at what is happening within the terrain of your business or your economy, and then use that to then feed into your business. So the question is, with COVID, how did COVID affect your business to begin with? In what ways did it impact? Did you notice that your customers started requesting for things differently? If you were a totally offline business, how did that impact the overall running of your business? Were you forced to go online? What pathways or avenues did you utilize? And that's what this talk will attempt to address. I always like to start with a quote here, and it says, plan ahead. It wasn't raining when Noah built the ark, which is true. He didn't do it necessarily because he had nothing better on his hands. He listened to a voice, and he went on and acted on that vision until the ark came. And then the conditions for building the ark came about. In this case, we're already within COVID. So the question is, how do we point ourselves in the right direction or in a better direction to optimize our businesses in these very trying times? So using that as a guide, I've decided, okay, what will be pathway? And this pathway is generic. It doesn't apply to a specific business. It's something you can use regardless of what type of business you are in. The rules are the same. It says, list your digital goals, objectives, and targets. So whether it is a digital strategy or just the approach of how you intend to change your business, clearly write them down, because that way you have a focal point to direct your attention or your thinking to. Keep it simple. Save the complexity for a later stage. The idea is this: if your customer finds your processes or your digital journey complex, they are not likely to use you. They don't want something where they have to start figuring out what is happening. very difficult for them. This involves both the processes and the tools that you are going to adopt or use. Then draw up an action plan or map an approach towards achieving them. And ultimately, when you've written down these goals and objectives, there are steps that are required to basically hit on these milestones as they are. And how do you achieve that milestone? What are the steps you need to take to do that? Those are the things that you need to basically plan for. Then, of course, the execution. Execution is critical. I mean, you can think all you want, you can plan all you want. If you're not going to execute, you might as well not bother doing anything to begin with. So the idea is, when you do execute the steps in your plan and you are hitting your milestones, what is the feedback you are getting? And that's where the next stage comes in, review for progress. As you start taking the journey along, this digital pathway that you are following, or this remapping or this retooling of your business, how do you measure the impact of your actions on the overall business? Is it working? Is it not working? Are there things you need to change? You need to adapt the process, retool it a bit. And then at the end of the day, repeat. So this, like I said, it's a very generic set of steps that you can reuse, not just for your digital journey, but for everything related to your business. Is there a new project you have in mind? Is there a new pivot direction you want to follow? Are there new processes you want to try out? Follow this and keep it consistent. The idea is that you should be able to plan, list, execute, and review. Anticipate the future, read the stars. Yeah, I know we are not all witch doctors, but I mean, we follow some basic principles, which are track the things that affect your business. Before COVID, there were certain things that would be happening. What is the impact of those things on the business? Does that require you to make your business more digital? Is your business basically tooled for the new age? Is it easy for your customers to reach out to you or to acquire your services or goods? And then seize the opportunities, digital or otherwise, that they present. What has COVID done? In what ways has it opened up your business in new ways? Have you taken advantage of those things? And then what opportunities does COVID present for your business endeavor? Now, this is critical. I mean, we're speaking of COVID, it's bad for the economy. But ultimately, it has also provided some of us with certain advantages. What are those advantages? And in what ways did you position your business to take advantage of those things? Now, of course, we're talking about COVID today, but it could be anything else. So it doesn't have to be COVID that is the actualizer for you to go ahead and decide how you run your business. So on a positive note, digital is finally here. I know my brothers and sisters at Bongo Hive, they've been screaming and preaching, and this presents literally foundation upon which all their preaching has come from. Look, be ready, be prepared, be digitally enabled. And this is the best possible time to be that. And there are lots and lots of creative options that are available to digitize. I mean, look at the number of tools that are now available for us to have virtual meetings. Formerly, we would have to have a physical meetup. And then, of course, right now, look at how the team has dynamically adapted and they are doing these digital meetups and meetings. Well, physically, we're all in disparate places, but we've all tuned in to listen to this. And then, of course, you have new ways and means of doing business online. I mean, a website, chatbots, or whatever it is that you can reach out for. Look at the number of logistic digital services that are being provided online now. And then digital enables your business to run 24 hours a day. You don't have an opening or closing time. Your site continues to accept business that you can fulfill within the terms of your SLA. And therefore, you are not subject to you are not being restricted, so to speak. So this gives you a whole lot of leeway to continue to provide services, even though your physical offices are closed or non-operational. And then flexible access for clients and new opportunities to innovate. I mean, the lifeblood of entrepreneurs is innovation. It doesn't matter in what way. It doesn't have to be on the technology. It could be on a process. It could be with services or goods that you offer. But innovation is the key to keeping alive and keeping fresh and providing options. Then, of course, we can't talk about the positive without the negative. So there's a bit of job losses, an unfortunate consequence, but something that means that a lot more of us will be out of jobs and may potentially look at entrepreneurship as a stopgap. I know for a fact that the government has pumped in a lot of attention for the informal sector, and therefore it might be the time for you to pick up some of your passion, hobbies, and all, and try to build a business out of these things. Process redundancy, of course, there'll be a lot of processes, manual ones in particular, that will have to be digitized to become more efficient. Businesses are closing. I mean, that doesn't require any telling, that is obvious. Cash flow restrictions, we can see how the economy was impacted and the fact that they had to partially keep the economy running to ensure that it doesn't grind to a halt. Income loss, and then jobs being replaced by digital processes. So the question is, if jobs are being replaced digitally, then how do you think your business should optimize as well using digital to enhance some of your service offerings? Then the one that is probably more attuned to our human nature is resistance to change. You know, before this, George and Co would have said, look, guys, embrace digital, do this, do that, but people prefer manual processes. And now you don't have a choice, especially if you want to continue to market or sell. So, of course, we have to quickly shed this resistance to change, as it may be. And then, of course, if we must give bad news, we then must give options. So the questions are, what available options are out there for you, for instance? Basically, it's adapt, pivot. And then if you choose to go the black route of stagnate, do nothing, and continue as is, I'm sure you very much know what will happen. If you're adapting your business processes and all, the idea is you are reviewing your business segment for the new opportunities that are now available, particularly in the digital space. How do you take advantage of those things? What type of new services can you offer? And how quickly can you make the changes that are required? And then, of course, can you offer any new services to complement what you already do? You know, and then how do you creatively move from the idea concept to the actualization of that idea? Pivot is a bit more direct. Pivot simply says if a model is no longer working within the current ramification of things, how do you change your business direction? One of my advice to people I talk to around business has always been, build your business to be multifaceted. In other words, allow it to do multiple things concurrently, so that should something happen and one of your income lines is affected, it doesn't affect every other income line. So you are able to keep yourself solvent and afloat because you've retooled your business in such a way that it can provide multiple services, you know, benefit, and it keeps you basically viable, especially in these uncertain times. Then, of course, the stagnate option doesn't require too much clarification. If you allow yourself to do nothing, to simply stay put or to continue your business as is, I mean, we clearly know what can happen. And there are already a few businesses that have been impacted that way. So the question is, between adapting and pivoting, you have to make a judgment call very quickly, and you have to quickly start to itemize what your action plans will be. And then how do you, if your business is not online, how do you improve that offering? Whatever choice or pathway you decide, please note that you must embrace partnerships and collaborations. This is critical. I can't say it often enough times. Nobody is an island. It makes no sense for you to think of reinventing a wheel that already exists. Find partnerships or people who can provide complementary services to what you do, and find a way to synergize. That way, you are certain of being able to weather the storm a little bit better, perhaps, you know. And then where you have not done so, quickly on priority, digitize your services and product offering. I don't know what particular segments you might be in, but whatever segment that is, find a way to put your service to make it reachable, where people physically don't have to visit you, where they can consume the service online, pay for it online, and then you just know that the only thing you are stuck with that requires a physical point of presence is fulfillment, where possible. New digital intersections for your business. Of course, this is just high level. It just says you need to find the synergies where they exist. Partnerships, collaboration, services, in whatever form. Be creative. This is the point in time to now start dreaming and doing. What is your digital native status? You know, sounds like what is your HIV status, but it's not quite the same. But you know, the idea is how ready are you to embrace digital within your business? And these are just quick questions that came to mind. Of course, this list is not exhaustive. You might have your own items to add to it, and you are allowed to. Do you have a website? Do you have any, or do you offer any online services that your customers can probably engage you through? Does your business use digital tools in day-to-day activities? If they do, what are those tools? Can you complement your offer to drive more customers to your business? That's really the ask. Digital is not relevant if it doesn't add value to your process, if it does not translate into more transaction volumes, or the ticket size of your transaction values increase, then there's really no need. It must significantly align to the goals of growing your transaction volumes or value. Then, of course, online advertising. How do people know that your services are now online, you know, or that you can be reached online? How have you managed to put out word of mouth propagations to your clients? You know, do you use WhatsApp groups? Are you posting ads on Facebook and the likes? Are you doing Google ads? And then what incentives have you offered to your customers? I've seen that in certain cases, especially since COVID happened, certain businesses are offering discounts. So they might say, okay, if you used to buy this item at this, we're offering a 10% discount just to stimulate business. And these are some of the things you might try as an incentive to draw customers to you. Because right now, until we get out of this slump, we're going to be in a price differentiation mode, and that's what you'll find is competition will be price-based until value is more critical. Then thinking from the customer's perspective. So when the customer is trying to consume your service, what is the route or the route to basically consume that service? How easy is it for him to consume it in the shortest number of steps? He doesn't need to do 10 steps to buy an item. If he can do it in 3 or 2 or 1, then let him do it in that amount so that he has a seamless experience. And most likely, you can guarantee that the transaction will be closed. The more you increase the number of steps, then the more difficult it is to ensure completion of the transaction, which is what you are counting on. And then, of course, you need to align from the customer's perspective. What is the customer's ask or need? What is he looking for in particular? It may not necessarily be price distinction alone. Maybe he wants convenience. Maybe he wants quality of service. Have you looked at that and tried to prioritize that offering in terms of your platform or your services? And then, of course, I've mentioned it before, keep the process simple. I mean, you don't need to become a rocket scientist to do things like this. Stick to what works that is very simple and easy to understand. Addressable market. We can't talk about digitization without looking at the target market you are looking at. Local demographic, this is an estimate, of course, it's somewhere around 18 million. The categorization of that is 46.7% percentage of population under 15, could be more. And then percentage of population between 15 and 64. So cumulatively, the bulk of the population target is your demographic. That is the simple truth of this slide, and therefore you do not have any excuse in terms of the. With digital, your business reach can also go beyond Zambia, regional or global. It's up to you. You just, once you put your business online, people can consume your services from as far away as Europe, Russia, China, and wherever. And the idea is, do you have a business that is that sits in that space, especially those who are in the agricultural sector? For instance, you have customers who say they want sunflower oil or so, or they want you to grow for them ginger or garlic in large quantities. You know, this is the best time to reach out to them and basically sell your goods online. If you don't have any online presence, then it becomes very difficult for you to do this. So again, apart from your local market, you also have an external addressable market. The idea is, do you have a product that fits within that segment, or how do you retool your business to be able to fit within that segment? Now, we can't, of course, focus on digital without pointing out to data here or there to indicate what the going on is. Pay attention to 2018 and 2019 figures for mobile money transactions. It has literally doubled. If you check from 2017 to 2019, the jump would astound you. You are looking at about less than 1 billion in 2017 to about 22 billion in 2018 and 49 billion in 2019. Maybe to give it a bit of context, the entire ATM transactions done in Zambia for 2019 was 48 billion. So in other words, for the first time, mobile money transactions have surpassed ATM transactions. That in itself is a foreteller of what is happening. If you look at the Zikta stats as well, on the right, you see mobile subscriptions at an all-time high. You also see mobile internet users at somewhere about 56% or thereabouts, if I'm not mistaken. And the idea is that there's no better time for digital than now. So if you don't have your business online, you don't have any excuse. The question might be, okay, I'm not knowledgeable enough. Then find partners or people who are digitally versed to help you to build the appropriate solution. Find a way to make it work, but you can't use the excuse that you are not digitally aware, not to take the necessary steps. And then, of course, your strategy. So again, it paraphrases what I put on at one of my earlier slides. It says, map your internal processes. What are those processes you need to digitize? And which one of those are essential? Start from the essential ones first. Then digitize where possible by adopting the right tools. What are the tools that you intend to use in your digitization journey? Have you highlighted them? Do you want to do a simple, basic one like doing WhatsApp groups and posting? Do you want to do chatbots and the likes as a first level? Do you want to build a portal or a website? What is it in particular? You know, do you want to use pre-existing tools to build a digital footprint for your business? And then third, improve by consolidating steps and simplifying where possible. So you don't need 10 steps where you can do the same thing in 2 or 3. In fact, the less number of steps, the better. Because from statistics, we've also seen that cart abandonment, where you are making payments online, is typically based on the number of steps. So the more complicated the process looks to the end customer, the less likely he is to complete the transaction online. So again, we can take advantage of these things. In summary, I will list the main points we've already touched on. I've repeated a few of them several times over, but they are listed as follows: adapt and pivot and evolve. You can't be static. You can't claim that you don't know enough to do. Don't be left behind. I mean, this is not the time for you to start claiming that you don't know enough, you don't know what it takes. I mean, learn. Bongo Hive is a beautiful resource place to go to, and there are so many partners out there within Bongo Hive who can help out to point you in the right direction. You know, digitize and then go online. Your business must exist online. There's simply no beating about the bush on that fact. If there's something that COVID pointed out, it's that if you were not already online, then you had lost out on a huge share, because you are part of those who would probably be saying, business is bad, COVID has affected me, but it didn't need to. You didn't need to wait for that to happen before you decided you were going to go online. Partner and collaborate. You know, everybody thinks they are inventing something new. No, and this is the next best thing since white rice and everything else. No, you know, it has never been done before. That's a lie. There's nothing new under the sun. So the question might be, what are those things that someone already does and does well that you can collaborate and partner on to offer that as an incentive? You know, whether it is products or services or offerings. And then data is your friend. So in your digital journey, how do you measure the impact of your presence? Knowledge is derived from data. You know, the knowledge or the data tells a story by itself. So are you sure that your data is giving you the real picture around what you are doing or what you need to do or the changes you need to make? Because it can make a real difference ultimately in your business. So make data your friend. You know, how many sales have you done? How many were done online? How many fell within a particular bracket? What was the times that the most sales happened? Was it in the morning or in the afternoon or in the evening? Those sort of questions. And then you now use that to optimize your channels. Of course, that basically was the presentation at large. I've tried to keep it as basic and as simple as possible. I'm sure questions that would find me on Twitter, and my email address is there. Of course, the guys at Bongo Hive can also send it out in case you need to reach out for personal one-on-ones. I'm always happy to help out. They know that, George in particular, I'm going to add. And then, of course, credits. I believe the impact of God in all things, and therefore he stays first for me. And Bongo Hive et al. I mean, you guys have been phenomenal in everything you've done for this. And the fact that you are, even within COVID, still managing to push the dispersion of knowledge to the crannies, to people who are interested or hungry, then this presents an opportunity. And, I can't thank you guys enough for all the things that you do. And then, of course, to the audience, for those who keep hustling, keep grinding, keep doing everything that they do to improve their odds of success. As they say, may the odds be forever in your favor. We are here to help in whatever way. If you have any questions, I'm sure post this presentation, we can then start to deep dive into them one by one. So thank you again. I'll give the mic back to Elizabeth.
Thank you so much, Chinedu. That was such an excellent presentation and really useful as well. Just before I dive in with questions for Chinedu, and please, if you've got any, do put them in the Q&A section, I will come to them. If you have any comments or want to share anything that we have discussed thus far or in the next few minutes on social media, on Twitter, you can use the hashtag Hive Webinars. You can follow Bongo Hive on all social media channels, whose handle is just at Bongo Hive. And then, of course, Chinedu's, which was at Chinedu Kogu as well. So please do share on social media, do tag us, do engage with us, because that's the best way that we can get our messages out there, and that hopefully we can really help you as well. So moving on to questions. First question for Chinedu is, you talked about embracing partnerships. Obviously, it's quite a difficult time to communicate with people, and especially to create new relationships at this time when meeting people is much more difficult. Do you have any tips or much advice on good ways to reach out, make new connections, especially if you have had to pivot your business or reconsider your positioning within the market?
Okay, so thank you, Elizabeth. The first thing to note is, obviously, within the current business segment you operate in, you probably have people you've spoken to, or you've probably identified people that can offer a complementary or nearly similar offer, a circle that you are familiar with, and then expand beyond that circle. Because remember, you might be introduced to new people from the people you already know. So maybe the question is, have you aligned with those that you're already familiar with, that you can see a synergy between yourself and them first? And then on the basis of that, if it doesn't work out, can you get them to then recommend people who are providing specific complementary services to what you are looking for? So, there's no hard and fast way of doing this. I wouldn't claim that use my approach or whatever. I just say start from the offering of what you have in terms of your current network right now, and then expand. And then, of course, there's Bongo Hive. So you might as well throw the questions to say, look, I'm looking for a partner in this and this. Could you help me link to a partner that exists in those areas? And Bongo Hive is always willing. I know that for a fact. So maybe that would be our approach to take. And then if that doesn't work out, I'm sure you can then start expanding beyond your known circles.
Great, thank you. Next question, you talked about the importance of data, and I think I definitely found the information you were showing about mobile money really intriguing. What do you think are the best ways to consider approaching your data? How can you really make it work for you? Are there any particularly good digital tools, or is there anything in particular one should think about when looking at their data and how best to use that, both for themselves and for their customers.
Okay. So it looks like your question is a bit loaded. I will try to tackle them. Where I haven't covered, please feel free to just bring me back so I can probably help. So in terms of tools, there are enough data tools that are out there. Google Sheets is fantastic. I just came across it recently. I mean, I've had it all along, but I've not played around with it so much. And I just realized that it could do so much more than your Excel can. And it's so accessible. So if you have any data that you get, you import it into Google Sheets. You can basically slice and dice it any way you want. And then maybe from there, you then start to use the data to ask yourself the appropriate questions around your business. Now, that is one part in terms of some of the tools. As you then start to advance, you can then look for the more complicated ones. But start from the basics. That's always the rule of thumb. Don't go for, I mean, if you can get something done within a basic degree, why go for a PhD? That's the idea. The second part is data is critical in the sense that your business already generates some form of data. It might be a question of maybe how you get it right now. So for instance, how much sales do you do per day? When do the sales occur? What type of items are you selling the most? Those are very basic questions to ask. Even from there, that can immediately tell you maybe you should focus your energies on one type of product or service than on the other. Or for products that are not moving so well, then you start thinking, is there a way I can recombine this product or service with a different product or service to complement the offering so it makes sense or it's more compelling for someone to procure or purchase? So at the end of the day, it doesn't matter whether you've digitized or not, you currently have data on your business in one form or the other. It may not be complete, it may not be granular, but it currently exists. So the question is, from the data you have, what information can you extract? Or what tools can you use to extract the information that you need? That's one. Then two, based on the data that the information you've managed to extract from that data, how are you applying it to your business? Then three, do you need to complement the data you collect? In other words, you need to increase the threshold or the attributes of data you collect so that you can make more informed decisions. For instance, do you start adding timestamps so you can tell within a particular time range, do your sales occur more during a particular period of the day? Or do your sales occur more during for a particular product segment or service segment? Whatever sort of questions you ask, so that the more data you have, then the more beneficial the insights the data will provide for you and your business. I don't know whether that answers the question, Elizabeth.
I thought that was great. Thank you. So my next question is the last question, unless anyone has anything else they would like to add or ask. And it is more specific to COVID-19, which, as you mentioned, has forced a lot of change, hopefully in some ways for the better, in terms of forcing digitization in some areas that perhaps it hasn't previously managed to succeed in. And from what I've understood from a lot of the small businesses we work with, this has put a certain pressure on them because it's given them an opportunity to push their products or their services out into the market, but maybe not at the scale that things are now needing them, or maybe their products aren't completely ready or are still a work in progress. Do you have any advice for how to navigate that? Obviously, it is different for every business, but in terms of whether one goes into a particular area with their product to test it, or whether you just push it out and try and deal with the problems as they go. How do you suggest navigating that as a business that is throwing caution to the wind and going for it at this very strange and wild time?
And strangely enough, you've actually just hit on the approach you should use. So in a sense, Elizabeth, you've answered the question you asked. You literally just, I think within the tenure of ourselves as entrepreneurs, there's really no rule. So far you are not breaking the law, and so far you are not contravening any rules and regulations, and so far you are not hurting anyone else in pursuing your business. There's really no rule around how business is done. So far, you keep to these major tenets. The idea is the desperation of the times have called for very innovative new measures. So people are starting to tap into their personal contacts. Look, you know, I know you can't go out, but I can have it delivered to you in person. You just let me know what you need. I'll pack it up quickly and come and, you know, send it to you. So you don't wait for the customer to reach out to you. You are obviously reaching out to more and more customers because you understand if you don't do that, then your business will die. And it's a very simple principle. If you keep the focal point of your business's survival at the forefront of your thoughts, then I really don't see, you know, the challenge. As everything else, it is a process. So you say, okay, let me try this approach. Is it working? Yes. Is there anything I can do to make it work better? Yes. Then fine, you've solved it. You try it again. Is it working? No. Okay. What did I do wrong? Okay, I did that. Okay, let me change that and try again. So ultimately, it's left to trial and error, and then getting the feedback as quickly as possible, and then, you know, again, attempting the new iteration of whatever it is you are trying. I don't know. I hope that answers the question.
That's excellent. Thank you, Chinedu. And what a great end to a really fantastic presentation. Thank you so much for your time and for the inspiration and for sharing that with everybody. Again, if anybody would like to engage with Chinedu or myself or Bongo Hive, Chinedu's details are on the presentation. You can also contact him through Bongo Hive, but our handles are at Bongo Hive and at Chinedu Kogu. Thank you so much, Chinedu. There it is, in case anyone wanted to write it down. And finally, just another thank you to Chinedu for sharing all that fantastic information, and hopefully see you safely on the other side of this in the not so distant future, Chinedu.
Most definitely. Thank you, Elizabeth. You've been a fantastic host. Thank you, George. I would give him a kiss, but we'll leave it at that for now. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.